Hi, I'm a fat little Asian man. I spent a decent amount of time in South Korea, and there was a would you rather that was played commonly throughout high school and university. Would you rather live as you are now or be reborn into North Korean high society? The idea was simple. Do you keep your current life with all its stress and uncertainty, or do you get reborn into the core class of North Korea, powerful, pampered up, and far above 90% of the local population? Yeah, it's truly one of the questions of all time. But if you know how it's like in high schools here, it was still pretty good to pass the time. What about you? What would you choose? I mean, life's pretty hard, right? Especially with all the inflation, unemployment, and war going around. I mean, just living somewhere costs so much. Wouldn't you want to live somewhere where the rent isn't higher than half your salary? You have to admit, it doesn't sound that bad, or at least a little refreshing. Too bad it's also the objectively wrong choice. Want to know why? Well, you're in North Korea. And if that doesn't convince you, let's take a look at living in the highest class of North Korea. Congratulations on being born. You're now a proud citizen of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. It might be a little intimidating to be in North Korea, but don't worry, comrade. All that scary news about starving kids doesn't apply to you. Why? Well, it's all because of their social caste, the Songbun system. The Songbun system categorizes the people of North Korea into three main groups: the core class, the wavering class, and the hostile class. Now, the idea of the system is pretty simple. Songbun means component or ingredient in Korean, and so people are classified based on how likely they are to be loyal to the regime. Your birth Songbun depends on two factors: the background of your ancestors starting from the 1950s and the behavior of your relatives. The rest is kind of self-explanatory. The hostile class refers to people who are hostile to the communist regime. You can become a hostile class if you own land, are religious, are or part Japanese, watch any K-pop, and or if your family members were purged for political crimes and defecting. The wavering class refers to the average North Korean, such as farmers and workers, as they can waver between communism and capitalism. The core class refers to people who are the core of the communist revolution in North Korea. But it was honestly mostly for people Kim Il-sung liked, like his drinking buddies from the 1940s. Your songbun basically affects everything in your life. Being born in Pyongyang means you're above 80% of the population already. The fact you're born in an actual functioning hospital says a lot about your status. Instead of living in houses made of steel boards, your family lives in a nice apartment with working electricity and running water, luxuries in North Korea. You can also go enjoy movies like Comrade Kid Goes Flying and others at the Pyongyang International Film Festival. Yeah, they have one of those. Not enough? Enjoy other luxuries like eating meat and bread at North Korean McDonald's and ride roller coasters in North Korean Disney World. Probably the biggest difference is food. In North Korea, people eat corn rice. Now, any non Asians watching might be thinking, what's the problem with that? Let me tell you. It's easy to tell if an Asian country is struggling hard by looking at how their rice looks. Unless it's for health reasons or preference, mixed rice is either a punishment or starvation. Because you don't touch our rice unless you want to see blood. The average North Korean doesn't have enough rice, so corn is an alternative to it. Speaking of alternatives, due to the lack of meat available, the average North Korean eats bean meat. No, not that stuff. This thing. Most North Koreans normally eat dog meat on national holidays like Kim Il sung's birthday or celebration of Kim Jong un's fourth toe or something. Typical dog meat Avengers, I know, but in North Korea, I don't think it's a choice. For members of the core class, though, you can eat actual food like white rice, tofu soup, and pork or fish once or twice a week. Your core class status doesn't just give you more food and better accommodation, it also opens up your entire future for you. In North Korea, every opportunity depends mostly on your class alone. As a core class, you'll enroll in the best universities to work in the top positions of the party, or the military, where you'll enjoy many, many benefits the regime gives you for your loyalty. Now, some people listening might think, hey, it doesn't sound that bad, right? Wrong. Why? It's because of that very own Songbun system that makes North Korea so difficult to live in. In most social class systems, it's very difficult to move up and easier to fall down the social ladder. However, in North Korea's case, it's almost impossible to move up the ladder, but extremely easy to go rocketing down. This is because in North Korea, your entire worth is calculated solely based on your usefulness to the regime. The hostile class are seen as a means of spreading fear to control the people. The wavering class is seen as military units or labor to provide all the resources for the country. For the core class, the value comes from maintaining the system and making sure power is concentrated to the Kim family. Everything that the core class receives are not merit or compensation for labor, they're rewards for loyalty. Maybe a comfortable life physically, but definitely not a mentally comfortable one. You see, if your value reaches zero, or it's better for the regime to get rid of you, you're cooked. Everybody to everything that your extended family owns can disappear in an instant. Even the slightest mistake can send you plummeting down the socio-political ladder. And believe me, there are a lot of windows for failure. In North Korea, your political life starts at the ripe old age of 7 once you enter the Children's Union. From this point onwards till you die, you'll now have to attend a mandatory life review session once a week. Here's how it works. Each meeting will start with self-criticism where you'll quote one of the Kims and almost religiously repent for not being able to keep up with their word. Next, it's time for something called mutual criticism, where you have no choice but to publicly denounce others for wrongdoings or a lack of commitment to the North Korean ideology. Of course, everyone snitching on everybody makes a community or workplace collapse. So, in most rural parts, these sessions are mostly a formality except once a month, which is still honestly a lot of confessing to do. But for the core class, every session is performed as strictly as possible. Everything in these sessions is up for loyalty evaluation. One slip can cost you your entire political standing in North Korea, and without it, the only thing that awaits you is the concentration camps. Take it from this guy, Captain Lee Chol-soo. In 1996, the North Korean Air Force pilot literally flew past the border in his jet and defected to South Korea. As you can tell from his job and title, Captain Lee was part of the core class with his father, who was also a respected pilot. Everything in life was basically set for him, until it wasn't. In the 1990s, North Korea had a huge famine called the Arduous March, resulting in the deaths of millions. During this time, an 8-year-old child was publicly executed near the airbase Captain Lee was stationed at. Why? For stealing bits of sugar that was sprayed on a plum field that was meant for Kim Jong-il to eat. The North Korean logic here was, stealing the food of the supreme leader meant actively harming his well-being and health, which equals to treason. The tragic thing was, spraying sugar has almost zero effect on sweetening the plums, and the child was executed for nothing. After being traumatized by the execution, Captain Lee told his best friend he's known for all his life, "Isn't killing a child over a few plums a little harsh?" And just like that, his life was over. His best friend ratted him out during the next life review session, and for the next 5 years, he was socially and politically isolated, often becoming the scapegoat for everything that went wrong in his unit. According to an interview 27 years later, he had no real problems with the North Korean regime at the time. It was the constant paranoia of the regime and efforts to get him purged that made him cross the border. If you dreamed of living a comfortable life with less worries, North Korea is definitely not the place to do it. In order to get all the nice perks from the government, here's everything you need to do. Pass every single weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly life review session. Graduate school where there's twice as much ideology lesson than there are of any other class. Rise up the ranks of the youth league and silently compete with thousands of others for your political career. Pass every loyalty evaluation needed for occupation, jobs, moving, and marriage, all without making a single mistake. Doesn't sound really worth it, right? Even the perks you receive from the government are also pretty half-assed. Even the capital city of Pyongyang, electricity and water are only active for around 3 hours or less per day. It doesn't help that supply chains are completely destroyed by sanctions, so even if you get food like sushi once every blue moon, it might look like this. Also, the regime is very controlling, and you'll need official permission to enter any recreational building and to even spend money there. I mean, do you really want to ride this thing? Look how scary that face is. The worst part of North Korea are the purges. As you can guess, your life is over at an instant if you ever get purged. The problem is, political purges in North Korea are seemingly random. That's because purges act solely to concentrate or reaffirm the country's power to the top. The motive for a purge is simple. It's either the regime needs scapegoats for failed policies and natural disasters, or Kim Jong-un just doesn't like your behavior. However, when a purge does happen, it's not just one or two people offed. Everybody affiliated can disappear. Entire departments gone. And of course, if you add in the fact that North Korea punishes extended family members for political crimes, the casualties are sometimes 3 times larger. One of the biggest purges was the deepening group incident, where Kim Jong-il's brother-in-law created a secret police group to gather scapegoats for the 1990s famine. Around 10,000 people were said to be executed, while another 15,000 were sent to political prison camps along with their families. Just imagine, you could be working your job as commanded and tortured and executed the very next day just for this guy's sake. Nobody is exempt from these purges, even at the very top. When Kim Jong-un came to power, he took that same uncle and executed him along with his entire extended family for treason. Everybody associated, whether it be subordinates to friends, were all either brutally executed or sent to political prison camps. I would imagine the fall from married into the Kim family to hostile class would be pretty devastating. So wow, what a shocker. Being rich and powerful doesn't help you from the hell that is North Korea. Who would have guessed that a country run by a rotund megalomaniac who makes his citizens believe he's some sort of god looking like prime Nikocado would also be terrible to live in. I should probably just get employed instead of asking dumb questions like this on the internet.